Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me. I'm so excited to be here at Tableau Conference 2025. I hope you are having a wonderful conference as I am too. Today I'm going to talk about something that most of us have struggled with. And I am so happy about the title slide that I have come up with. I had to spend some time and energy thinking about what would be a catchy title slide or the title that will bring people to the session. So the session here is called Ghosts of Past, Present, and Future, because if you have tried to fix or update your dashboard without documentation, we all know how haunted things can get. How many of you are with me? We have had some haunted document dashboards. Okay, that's good to hear. So let me start by saying thank you to you all, how grateful I am, because I know there are so many sessions to choose and you chose this. So I'm going to form a club of our own, which is going to be called Documentation Phantoms. So welcome to the Club of Documentation Phantom, where our mission is to clear up any uncertainties that may exist in our dashboard and bring clarity to forefront. So yeah, I better see Documentation Phantoms trending somewhere on the socials, because that was a very good name that I came up with. So what are we going to talk about? We will start with some of the challenges that we might have faced. What happens when the documentation is missing? I'll walk you through some scenarios that I have experienced personally, and we will see if anybody in the audience has similar scenarios that they have experienced with their dashboards. Then we will break down with seven actually essential components of effective documentation. Then I'll walk you through some of the practical strategies and in-product features in Tableau that you can use right now to help in your documentation journey. We will look at a few real-world examples where I will show you what the documentation strategy can be translated as and how you can use automation and templates in this process. And finally, before I move on, we are also going to learn about some best practices of dashboard handoffs, because sometimes we do the documentation, but there is no structure in place where the handoff can happen seamlessly. So coming to next slide, introducing myself. Hi, I'm Preeti Lodha. I'm a data analytics and insights manager in higher education. I've been using Tableau for past 6 years, and as many of you, I learned Tableau on job because it was one of the tools that my industry was using. And in the process, I became part of Tableau's community. So let's talk about all things Tableau about me. I am currently serving as a Tableau Public Ambassador, which means that I create a lot of snazzy, good-looking visits on Tableau Public, but I also help people identifying how that could be done. Because for me, learning process is through building things, and Tableau Public is such a great platform to do that. I currently have a Tableau Public page, and if you ever visit my Tableau Public profile, the thing that I'm really proud of is there a viz on there which has over 1 million views. I don't know how that happened. I know how it happened. Somebody picked it up and posted it on their website. But 1 million views on something that I was personally visualizing. I wanted to know what my spending compares to the rest of the Americans. And that was a personal viz, but sounded like everybody wanted a comparative to see. So do check out my Tableau Public page. I also co-lead 2 of the Tableau user groups. How many of you get Viz of the Day emails or engage with Viz of Days? Can I get a show of hands? Okay, I'm seeing quite a few of you. So what we do at the Tableau Public User Group is walk you through the process of how the author thought of this visualization? What were the process of collecting data, transforming it, building the visualization, and doing stuff? So if that interests you, please join us at the Tableau public Tableau user group. That's a tricky one, using Tableau twice in just one sentence, but I'm glad I made it. And I also co-lead the Boston Tableau user group. So anybody from Boston here, if you are already not a part of it, it's a great community. We talk all things Tableau at the Boston Tableau user group. Okay, coming to the main event, Iron Viz. You might have seen my picture up there. I was cheering so hard last year at the Iron Viz, and I plan to do the same. So I strongly urge, if you have never experienced Iron Viz, do plan to go there. It's really fun. Okay, let's start with some very real pain points. Let me know by show of hands if you have faced any of the next 3 scenarios, okay? So the first scenario is the mystery dashboard dilemma. What does this mean? This means that, have you ever had to update a dashboard that you didn't build? You inherited a dashboard. I see a few hands. Oh, that's great. Oh, there are a lot of hands. Cool. And this is a true story. A dashboard was broken. I was working on it. I opened it, and the filter that was broken was called filter test final final. I was like, yeah, great. Let me see, what does this mean? So now I suddenly felt like Sherlock Holmes trying to figure out what all it means. And I'm like, okay, we will figure this out. It was just that somebody was trying to check a functionality, because we a lot of times dashboards, and one of my team members wanted to test something. So they replaced my filter with this test filter, and that is why my dashboard was broken. Okay, the second scenario, the handoff headache. Now let's flip it around. You have created a beautiful dashboard, you're proud of it, and you are handing it over to your client, right? So you're a consultant, you're handing it over to the client, and now your client realizes that he does not know what business rules you applied, what does the KPIs mean, and what the filters and parameters are in play. You didn't plan this for this moment, so they are going to have a tough time because they don't have a roadmap of maintaining it after the handover. Any takers for this scenario? Consulting? I do see a couple of you. Okay, cool. So the next one is the troubleshooting time warp. What does this mean? This is my favorite one, though. There have been times where I have built a dashboard which eventually broke down. 6 months later, I came back to it, and I couldn't understand what the dashboard was. Because sometimes you build so many dashboards, you are not on top of what a particular dashboard's needs were and what the calculations were. So, and that is where you struggle with. I see you there. I see the mini hand come up. Yeah, and I'm like, if there was a documentation, if I was a good guide and I had documented this, this would have helped me. So that sort of began my journey of insisting on having some sort of documentation. And that is the first question we get asked, right? So what are the common struggles between these dashboards that I should capture in documentation? In our first scenario, there was a dependency on original creator, or there were unclear data sources, there was complex calculations that were breaking, and you had no idea what was happening. In the second scenario, the original creator is not available anymore to the client. You can retain me, but again, if there is no documentation, the onus is on you to maintain that dashboard. There is missing context for the key filters and parameters, and there is no structured transition process. Finally, even as an original author, sometimes we are unsure about where to start troubleshooting. We have forgotten the rationale behind the calculations that we have created. Do these struggles sound something that you might have faced? Cool, okay. So what should we in that process. I'm going to talk about 7 key components of effective documentations that you can take care of, which will make sure that your dashboard at least is captured in some format. And you can expand on this depending upon your needs, but these are the 7 crucial things that you can do. First one, we are going to talk about the overview section. It is important that you understand why a dashboard is being built. A lot of times we build dashboard just to answer a question or an analysis somebody is asking us of, and it has no real purpose apart from that. So what are you going to capture in this overview section? You're going to capture the purpose, audience, and key metrics. The second one is data sources and connections. This is critical because we build dashboards. We are getting our data sometimes from files, sometimes from server. There are connections that you are making. You are combining your data. You're using a union, a relationship, a join. These are things that need to be captured because there is a possibility something breaks at that level. Then comes your calculated fields, parameters, and sets. Then filters and action. Then performance consideration. This might be a bit different, but again, we publish our dashboards to our servers and our cloud. It is important to keep in mind key considerations of how you can fine-tune the performance of dashboard. And if somebody else is doing that, capture that information. Hey, an extra filter was added, you need to know. And finally, there's one more. There is access and permission. This is more about identifying who all has access. This sort of gives you an insight on if something needs to be maintained, somebody needs to be notified of something, of, hey, this is a broken dashboard we are working on. You know the list of people that you need to reach out to. Finally, the version control and updates, because documentation is not a one-time done thing. It is a continuous process. If you are evolving your dashboard, you will have versions of dashboard, and version control and updates is where you capture it. Okay, so let's talk about some of the key components of the effective documentation. The first one, the overview section. As I said initially, this is like a high-level introduction to your dashboard. You are going to capture what this dashboard is for, who uses it, what key metrics are being tracked. Think this of like your dashboard elevator pitch that you had to give somebody. So you pull this documentation up and you're able to provide context and details. So what could that look like? That could look like something this. You're capturing all these data points in your template, starting with your dashboard name and link. And recently I learned just providing the dashboard name is not enough, because there have been cases where people have version 0.1, 0.2 of the same dashboard name, and people were like, can we have a link attached to this name? And I was like, that's a good thought. Let's add the link name in there. Identify the creator. Sometimes it's helpful if the person is still in the organization, you can have a conversation with them. If not, there is some sort of idea of where this process started, who was the owner of this dashboard, and how it went. I like putting in the date created in there and last updated. Last updated is not when last your data was refreshed. It is last when you touched your dashboard or made some changes in it. Followed by the purpose of the dashboard. This is very brief. You don't have to write a novel here, just few sentences. You're capturing the essence of your dashboard. Following by key metrics tracked. I like this because there are a few KPIs that we tend to use, and a lot of times people don't know what those KPIs mean. So this could be your opportunity of identifying those KPIs and having a small text besides it, letting people know what do those KPIs capture. The final step is how to use your dashboard. Trust me, so there have been times where it clearly says hover over here for more information, and sometimes people have missed it. So I now have screenshots showing how you could navigate this dashboard, and that has been helpful not only to the end user, but for the creator themselves to engage within the dashboard. Okay, the second component. This is the critical one, right? This is the bread and butter. This is where your analysis starts. This is where you are trying to identify the foundation of your dashboard. So they need to know where the data is coming from before they start analyzing for visuals. So what are you going to capture in this? You're going to capture your data source name. It could be the name that you have given to the data source, or you can add more to it and identify the original name of the data source. Data source type, you can collect file or server, and this is where I said you can expand on it. If it is a file, you identify how to get to that file. If it is a server, you identify what are the steps and logins. I do not generally suggest saving login information in any sort of documentation. Create another document, create a link to that so that it could be secure. And next comes the data connection information. This includes data location, such as your file name, the path name, the server, as I was talking about. The next one is critical. It is connection type. Is this live data or extracted data? Because performance sometimes depends upon this on access to. I know you can literally open your desktop and you can see it right there that it is live or extract, but there have been times where my creators have extracted the data. It's not live and it's not set up on a refresh basis, and they were like, we are not seeing the current data. And we were like, because you have not set the refresh cycle and it's not live data. Following by that, you can also identify refresh frequency. This is the critical one, the joins, relationships, unions, and blends. You have to identify your physical tables, your logical tables, what sort of joins you're doing, capture what join it is doing on actual fields, because sometimes we have seen we introduce extra columns in there and we are expecting that the join is automatically updated. It does not. You have to make that join. And key filters. How many of you on the data source pane have the filters identified? There's an extract filter and there's a data source filter. So whenever you click on your extract, it opens up a screen and it says, hey, I'm creating this extract. You want to add any filters beforehand? And you can do that. And I've seen sometimes people miss that, capturing that information. And I'm like, oh, I'm not getting this set of student data. Why is it so? And then we realize, oh, there was an extract filter for performance added, and we didn't look at it. Okay, this is our bread and butter. How many times have I been confused by the LODs written by people? Many times. So the calculated fields, the parameters, and the set. Have you experienced calculated fields with nested logic? There's a calculated field which is dependent on another calculated field which is dependent on another calculated field. And I feel like I'm exploring down the hierarchy and I'm like, oh, I don't know where I am at this point. Or you have had to customize your parameters for the views. That is why we suggest document this so you can identify those hierarchies or those connections within your calculations, or just have an idea of what this calculation means so that I don't have to become Sherlock Holmes every single time I open a dashboard. Because you will, if you don't capture this, you will be wasting somebody's time trying to reverse engineer your thought process. So what are we going to capture in this? This is pretty easy, straightforward. You are identifying your field name, calculation, and the purpose of the calculation. The other thing that I like to do with my calculation is version control within the calculation, because calculations sometimes evolve. So if you want to do version control in version 0.1, this was the calculation in version 2.0. This is the updated calculation that we have identified. Same goes with the parameters and sets. Next comes the filter and action. This is the interactivity part, right? This is where the dashboard filters are in place. There is a highlight action. There is a URL link. There is a sheet swap that is happening. These need to be documented because these will often break silently, and those are not the first intuitive things that you think of going to. You think about, oh, let me look at the data, let me look at the calculation, but in the back end, it was an action URL which was broken. So how do I capture? Again, simple steps. You identify your filter. But this is where I ask that you identify what type of filter it is, because it changes the rule of how your dashboard is going to work. If it is a context filter, that is one which gets applied first, right? Then it's a dimension filter, then it's a measure filter, and followed by it as a table calculation filter. And similarly, dashboard actions, there are so many new dashboard actions out there. I'm like, okay, what dashboard action is in play here, so that I can know why the web page is not opening when I click on this URL. This is a departure. So performance is a big one. When I mention performance, I am referring to the speed with which I can work in Tableau. This could mean the speed of data analysis, such as working on Tableau desktop, on a large database that I'm accessing remotely. Or it could refer to speed of loading views and dashboards that I access on my desktop from Tableau server. If you have optimized the extract size or limited data by dropping unnecessary columns or aggregating an appropriate level, capture that. Because these key performance issues might be the clue that somebody is not seeing a column that they're expecting to see in a particular data set. And similarly, if you have figured out some key performance issues that have been consistent and have not been resolved, so that somebody does not have to go through the same step of saying, hey, I found a new bug, and somebody coming back to it and saying, oh no, we have known this for quite a while. And then is the access and permission. This is where I say this structure outlines the security of your access structure for your dashboard, identifying the level of access and who is granting those approval for access. This could be as simple as you identifying your access roles and permissions, and identifying who has which level of access, who can view this, who can edit this, and stuff. Key point to remember, please do not store the names and emails of the people who have access to this dashboard on your Tableau documentation. That is a secure document that you can maintain on separate, where people can go and engage, because a lot of organizations like to have that locked down and not be in public. Finally, coming to version control. This sort of is critical because it will provide insights during troubleshooting, audits. How many of your dashboards get audited? Mine does, yes. And handoffs. So you can track changes, who made them, when, and why. And you assign someone to maintain it. Assigning clear ownership ensures continued support and accountability for updates. So what could this look like? This could be very simple. You identify the date and you say this was the initial release, version 1.1. This is where we updated few filters and calculations. Refer back to the calculation section and we will identify what those changes were. And then an ownership and maintenance plan. I'm going to talk more about the maintenance plan in next few slides, but this is critical because, as I said, it is not just about documenting, but identifying and maintaining it and making sure that you have proper handoff of these documents going forward. Okay, so how do we actually do all this in practice now? I have 3 approaches for you that you can take. You don't need a fancy tool. You can document right inside Tableau with very few things as commenting your descriptions, commenting your measures, commenting your calculations, color coding. I'll talk more on that. Or having an external documentation hub of sorts where you can maintain all these knowledge that you have gathered. And you can also use standardized templates, the set of structured templates that we talked, put that all in one document, make it your standardized template, and we can go from there. You can do all 3 of them, you can do in combinations, or you can do one. It's up to you, or whatever your organization's needs are. So let's talk about embedding documentation directly in Tableau. These are the features where you can, inside the Tableau that you can use today without leaving the workbook. The first one is adding comments in your dimensions and measures, adding comments in your calculated fields. And fun fact, you can also add comments to your parameters. You can leverage sheet descriptions. A lot of us do not engage with sheet descriptions because that captures your entire workbook structure in there. And lastly, color coding your worksheets. Coming to the first one. So your data source dimension or measure field name may often be unclear or have unspecific meaning, and there's no data dictionary readily available. So what do? We sort of add comment to your dimension which sort of identifies what that field does. How do we go about it? So as you can see, you're going to right click on your field, go to default properties, and there's an option called comment. And once you click on that, there will be a dialog box that opens. You can identify what this field means. You can identify what are the different values that this field is supposed to have. It's up to you. And later on, once it's done, anybody who comes after you hovers over that dimension or measure, they get that small note that you had added in your comment. So that is documentation. Similarly, this is my favorite part, adding comments, because in any given workbook, there are a lot of calculated fields that are being created to customize the visualization. Knowing exactly why you use a calculated field and what it does is at the time is easy, but recalling that reason later on a date can be very difficult. So let's say, how am I going to do this and what it could look like? You could as simple as identify what are the different components of a calculation. This is a very easy, simple calculation. We are trying to identify the profit per order. I'm saying what this calculation means. What is the first part, the sum profit doing? The second part, what is the count distinct order ID doing? And as you see, slashes are for a single line comment. But if you have a block of structure that you want to capture, a lot of my developers like to put their name in and date on which they created or updated a calculation in there. For that, you can do the inline multi-line comments, which is /*, and you have to end it with a star and a backward slash. Next is enhancing clarity inside Tableau workbook using sheet descriptions. This is so much fun. This is literally your documentation. And if you have not experienced, you have to see this. This identifies the entire workbook. It identifies what calculations you created, what marks you are using, what rows are in play, what dimensions are in play, what measures are in play, what data sources you connected. It is a document of its own. So this is your documentation already present that is available on your worksheet. We don't have that for your dashboards. So when you're creating a dashboard with multiple sheets, what do? You're just going to copy these sheet descriptions and put them in one document, and you can call it your documentation for that dashboard. It's as simple as that. How many of you had a dashboard with more than 5 or 6 workbooks in it, and you had like 6 dashboards in just one Tableau workbook, right? I see a few hands. There's a simple color coding that you can do, and it looks like this. So this is your Superstore dashboard. I think this is our first Tableau dashboard that everybody experiences. And as you see, overview is the dashboard. Total sales, sales by segment, sales by product are the workbooks that are present in that dashboard. And what I have done is color coded. So if you see it, the bar at the bottom of color, it is now maintaining a color coding saying, hey, these workbooks belong to this dashboard. It's a very easy visual cue, and it is organizing your worksheets by color. Okay, so that was a lot of talking. Now let's come to the fun part of what this could look like in real world. So what I'm going to do is going to give you an experience of what a documented workbook could look like and a documentation could look like. So this is where I'm supposed to switch and drag things on screen. Okay, Superstore dashboard, right? The easiest one, everybody knows this one. So I am gonna see if we can implement all the things that we talked about. So I said, let's comment one of our dimensions. So let's go here. I wanna comment what the customer name means. So I'm gonna right click here. If I scroll down, come on, default properties, click comment. There you go. It pulls up the screen and you can type, this is the full name of the customer, and provide whatever information you want, and you click OK on it. And next time, whenever you hover over it, it is showing you the same thing. Similarly, we did one of the things with the calculations. So if, in a fun tidbit, a lot of times I document stuff and I'm like, I don't know how many of them have comments and how many of them don't. What are calculations and what are not. So if you go in the search bar, say C:, it is identifying all the calculations that are present in your dashboard. So let's go here. I want to go to this one. I'm going to edit it. It comes here, and we are going to identify, this is identifying how many days it takes to ship. So enter / number of days to actually ship the product. And apply. And nothing broke. The calculation is still valid, so we are good. And next time when somebody comes in, they are able to engage into your calculation and get that information. I was talking about color coding, right? So these all dashboards, these all workbooks belong to this dashboard. So I'm going to do a click here. Okay, it's cutting it off for you. Yeah, it's cutting off for all of us. Okay. Trust me, you can color code from the bottom. We will, I can't see the screen, but eventually what it could look like is, if we go here, this is what it would look like. I have color coded the rest of the dashboard. So these 4 are supposed to be colored blue. Think I colored them blue and agree with me, but that is the documentation part. Oh, you can? Okay. There you go. Oh, this was easier. Color, blue. Color, blue. And there you go. So now you have identified, you don't have to look at that small names at the bottom and think about, hey, what am I looking at? Which dashboard does this belong to? So these are the different views you can go by. So those were the 3 simple things that you could do. My favorite that I was talking about, worksheet, describe sheet. Voila, the entire sheet description. This is your documentation, complete documentation. It is identifying everything. It is identifying the calculations that it's using. It is identifying the dimensions and measures that are in play. It is identifying what colors you use, what data you used, and the tables that were in play. So it could be as simple as you hitting copy and pasting it into a document, and that is a documentation. Okay, so now let's get to what a standardized template could look like. So what I did was I went ahead and started documenting the Superstore dashboard. And there were 7 different sections that we talked about, right? Bonus points, there are a few extra sections in there, so do feel free to engage with this. I'll be able to provide you a documentation link, but it captures all the information. Superstore dashboards, it was created by Tableau public team. I don't know when it was created, but it was. Most recent update, we haven't had one in a while. It is capturing all the things. Here, there's something that I've added. What business questions are these dashboards capturing? How to use these dashboards. This is where you can have visual cues and stuff. This is the bonus point where I also like to identify the worksheet and layouts that we sometimes come up with. This is where you can also identify if there are custom colors that are introduced to your dashboard and to be standardized, something that you can capture here too. Followed by data source and connections. As you see, in joins, relationships, and unions and ends, there are relationships being used between tables, and that is how we identify, hey, there is a relationship, and this is what the relationship is based on. There's no extract filter or data source filter being used in this, so that is that. This is your list of calculated fields. A simple snapshot, this is just copy and paste, but it is giving you one preview, because if I was in a Tableau dashboard and there are 10 calculations, I will have to open each and every one of them to see what those calculation means. But this one is giving you a single snapshot of all your calculated dashboards, calculated fields in a go. Similarly, it didn't have a lot of filter actions. It had a dashboard action where you can click on a state, and it was filtering on the information on state, so we captured that. We captured that the performance is typically it loads under 3 seconds. We optimized the extracts for the performance, and we limited the number of rows. Access and permissions, again, this is broader information. This could be dependent on the organization that you belong to. And quick version control. There was an initial release, then somebody added profit ratios in there. There was enhancing and filtering actions that has been created. You identify the people and stuff. And this is my favorite part. This is where the hub I was talking about that comes into play. So if you are creating a hub in Confluence or a Google document, Google Doc or Google Drive, where all these things are sitting, you can identify the different things, different links of where to go and look at more information, because as I said, user security roles is going to be in a different file that's going to be locked up, but people want to have a link to that to go to it. And similarly, the contact information. This is the most important critical piece that you can add into your documentation, followed by the contact and support. Coming back to our presentation, there are a few more things that I want to walk you through. Okay. So that was a quick demo of what this could look like. Now let's talk about quickly the best practices for dashboard handoff. Documentation is one thing, and knowledge transfer is another. I would strongly urge do both. Conduct a walkthrough session, because sometimes you create a documentation, but somebody who is reading the documentation, it does not translate, even though it is pretty straightforward. Have a conversation, have a feedback session of how better you can capture something. Identify the assumptions and dependencies that they are, because sometimes the data needs to refresh someplace else before your actual data set refreshes, and then your dashboard updates. Somebody needs to know that, because 1 a.m. the dashboard has not refreshed, and they don't know that the data refreshes at 3 a.m. So that conversation needs to be had. Identify a plan of if something is broken and if we need to roll back, what would be the dashboard that they can go to? What is the best dashboard that has been working apart from the broken one? And most importantly, identify the person. Whenever the handover is happening, if that person is going to be responsible for your dashboards going forward, identify that person's name and contact, so that anybody who is working or struggling with fixing your dashboard, they can go to them. Cool. So this is a quick recap of sorts. Same thing, good documentation will save you time. Consistency is key. Leverage Tableau's inbuilt features if you have not already, and plan for documentation handoff. I have a template in place. as I said, this template has few more extra features in there. So if you want to scan that QR code quickly and get access to it and download that, feel free to do that and modify that template for your needs. Thank you so much for spending time with me today. I love to hear your question, and if you have any documentation horror stories, I'm happy to hear them too, because we are part of, you all forgot already, yes, we are part of Documentation Phantoms Club. Let's keep the ghosts out of our dashboard. Thank you for coming, and if anybody has questions, please feel free to come and ask me. And I have swag for you all. Thank you.